Hi there everybody. Today we are going to look at a process called trial and improvement. Now trial and improvement, not to be confused with trial and error, is a process in which we try and figure out a solution to a problem by picking a number and then trying to get closer and closer and closer to the actual solution. But it's not about just kind of trying to find the answer. And I know in terms of my own experiences, I found students who literally will just sit there and try and find the exact answer. That's not what this is about. This is about showing the examiner you know how to pick a number and then improve upon it. All right, and what you write down is what they're after. Okay, so let's go through an example in terms of what this means. So it talks about idea of testing values, but it's not just a case of just test random values. It's about how you get it better at it. Okay, so for example, x squared plus 1 is equal to 20 to one decimal place. Now you could solve it. You could take away 1 and square root it, and that will give you the answer. But it's not about that. This is about what numbers you put in and how you go about getting there. Okay, so we're going to trial values. All right, so what you need and what you'll be given is a table, and then from there you're going to put some numbers in. All right, so we're going to start with a number. Well, if I'm going to guess, because I know that x squared plus 1 equals 20, we're going to rearrange it as x squared equals 19. Well, I know that 4 squared is 16, and I know that 5 squared is 25. So I know it's going to be in between 4 and 5. So I'm probably going to start with one of those numbers. All right, so let's start with 4. All right, so I'm going to put 4 in. 4 squared plus 1 is 17. All right, so I know I'm not far off, but again, I am too small. It needs to be bigger than that. Okay, too small. So then I'm going to test 5. And again, so this is about me showing the examiner that I'm making a sound judgment as to why I've gone up, because my result there is too small. So I'm going to go up. All right, so 5 is going to give me 26. And again, of course, that is too big. So now it's about sensible judgment in terms of where I go next. Well, it must be somewhere in between. All right, so you've got a decision. Where do you go somewhere in between? Do I go halfway, or do I go closer to the one that's closer to it? Well, if I look very, very carefully at these two, I can see that the 4 is closer to 20 than the 26 is. So my guess would be it's going to be around about 4.3, 4.4. All right. But, of course, we're not sure. So we're going to try and put x is 4.5, somewhere in between. All right. So when I put 4.5 in, again, that is too big. Okay. So all I'm doing is put 4.5 into this, squaring it and adding 1. And that's going to give me this. But this one here, the 4.5, is certainly closer than the 4. All right, so I'm going to go down from there. So 4.4, let's try that one. So 4.4 is going to give me 20.36. All right, so I'm getting very, very close. All right, so because I am looking to make this to one decimal place, what I'm really after is to try to decide, well, is the next one down going to be too big, or how close it's going to be? So let's have a look. So I've got 4.3, and that's 19.49, which of course is too small. So because I'm looking at one decimal place, all these numbers here are to one decimal place, and I've got 4.4 on one side, and I've got 4.3 on the other side. So my answer, my solution, is somewhere in between these. But it's not asking me that. It's asking me what to solve it to one decimal place. So I'm looking for the one which is closest. All right, so of the 20.36 and the 19.49, which is the closest? Well, the answer, of course, this was 0.36 away, and this is 0.51 away. So 4.4 is closer to it. All right. Now, it is suggested here that you test 4.35. All right. Now, I don't think you need to do that, because I can see from here that this one, 4.4, is closer than this one, because it's 4.51. But let's put it in and see. All right. So 4.35 gives you 19.92, which is clearly going to be closer, but it's not close enough. So it's going to be 4.35 something, isn't it? All right, which would round up to 4.4. All right, so there are two ways of thinking about it. I could try this one and see whether or not I need to go up from the 4.35 or down from the 4.3. So, well, I need to go up from the 4.35 to get to 20. So therefore it's 4.4. But like I said, I look at this slightly differently. I think about the fact that this is 0.36 away, this is 0.51 away, so the 4.4 is closer. All right. Let's have another look at another one relatively quickly. So to two decimal places. So same kind of process, very much. Slightly different in the fact that I've got x squared and an x. All right, so that means I'm going to have to put my number in twice wherever I kind of put it, but I still need a table and I still need a starting point. So again, thinking about what numbers I could potentially put in here. Well, I know that 8 squared is 64 plus another 8, so that's going to be too big. And if I put 7 squared in there plus 7, that's going to give me 56. So those two numbers are going to give me either side. But I can't just do that in my head. Again, I'm thinking about the examiner. I'm thinking about the fact that he's going to give me award marks for it or not. So I'm going to test X and show that it's too big. I'm going to test 7, show that it's too small, and then go in between. All right, so I'm going to go for 7.5, which is halfway in between. It's going to give me 63.75, which actually is pretty close, isn't it? All right, but it's too small. So let's go up 1 and let's see what we get. And it's going to be 65.36. Now we are very, very close now. All right, because it's 65, but we're looking at 2 decimal places. So I have to get closer. All right, so now going into the second decimal point. Okay, so in here, we're probably going to go somewhere down the middle. So perhaps 7.58. All right, because again, this one looks closer to this one. So we're going to try and improve our thing and try and think logically in terms of where we think it's going to be at. So 7.58 is going to be a 65.04. Ooh, very close, but still too big. So let's go. And because we're now at 2 decimal places, I only need to try one more, which is the next one down. So 7.57, and then determine it from here. So here you've got 64.87, which of course is too small. And then, well, the way I said it last time is I try and decide which is closest. Well, which is closest? Well, this one is 0.04 away, and this is 0.13 away. So 7.58 is the closest one to me. So that I would stop at this point and say 67.58 is my answer. But in here, you can see the test the halfway value to see whether or not it needs to round up or not. Or 7.575 does need to round up, so it's going to be 7.58 as my answer to 2 decimal places. All right. So please note, this was not just about kind of trying some random numbers. It wasn't kind of trial and error and just keep trying to put numbers in my calculator until I get closer and closer and closer and closer and closer. This is about a very, very logical step process of you trying to get closer to it and trying to improve what your answer was by using logical steps and showing what those kind of steps are. All right. So please be very, very clear. If you're asked to do trial improvement, that's what you need to be writing down. Numbers either side and gradually getting closer. And obviously a proper, clear idea as to why you've chosen those numbers. All right. So either too big, too small, those kind of things, which you can see on the right-hand side of the table. Okay, well, if you need practice on that, please visit the maths-school.co.uk website. Again, the link is at the bottom for you some additional practice. But of course, you can feel free to visit the video at any time. Cheers for listening.